The real estate market in Halifax in the first quarter here in 2022 has remained just as crazy as ever. And we were obviously expecting it to be a very hot year, but the pricing and everything we're seeing has really even gone way above and beyond what we thought was possible here in Halifax. So in the first quarter, prices were way up and most houses are still selling within just a few days and generally speaking way over the asking price. So here's what the stats in the first quarter looked like. In the first quarter, we saw 1,164 sales in HRM, which is down almost 33% from this time last year. But don't get this mixed up, because if we had more houses to sell, we would have more sales on the books for the first quarter. We simply don't have the listing inventory to sell, and that is really the only reason why sales are down, because demand is still crazy here in Halifax. The average sale price in the first quarter was just under $577,000, which is up almost 27% from this time last year. So although sales are down, price points are absolutely through the roof here in Halifax. And our current listing inventory remains at an all-time low. We're just right around half a month of listing inventory, which basically means that if we as realtors stop listing houses tomorrow, it would only take about 2 weeks to sell everything that is currently listed for sale in Halifax. Now, before I get into a little bit more detail of what we're seeing on the ground level, if you like this content and you want to see more, please click the like and subscribe to our channel. I post 2 videos a week on YouTube about the Halifax real estate market and buyer and seller tips. And if you want to book a time to chat about real estate or book a meeting with me, you can do so anytime with my Calendly link below in the description at a time when it's convenient for you. Now, obviously the market has been crazy here throughout the first quarter, and if you're trying to buy a home right now, you know it is extremely, extremely difficult. And that really hasn't changed from this time last year, honestly, but it has gotten progressively worse. But I will say this, in the last couple weeks, I've noticed some situations where some houses were not getting as many offers as we were used to seeing, or as many showings as we are used to seeing. However, this is totally a mixed bag. It really just comes down to how aggressively each individual listing is listed. So in other words, if something is listed at $399,900 that we're expecting to sell for $550 or $600, well, obviously those listings are still going way above the asking price. But now it seems that some agents and some sellers are pushing the listing price upwards a little bit to accommodate the market. So in some situations, we're seeing more like 6, 7, or 8 offers on a listing, as opposed to 20 or 30 offers that we were used to seeing for the last few months. But again, it really comes down to each individual situation of where that property is listed. I also think a big reason why we're seeing a little bit less showings and a little bit less offers right now is plain and simple buyer fatigue. I've had a lot of clients on the buyer end that have just decided they're not going to keep looking for a house. They're very discouraged, especially millennials looking for their first property. So obviously it's still a very competitive market, and even though there's only maybe 6 to 8 or 10 offers on some properties, we are still seeing 20, 25, or 30 offers on a lot of other ones. So again, it really comes down to each individual situation. Another reason for this might be just the uptick in listings that we're seeing. So don't get me wrong, because as more listings hit the market, it's just going to make more sales because there's such a high demand out there, but it might dilute things just enough for buyers to have some success. So what I mean by that is, let's say you have a buyer looking for a 2-story home in the west end of Halifax. Well, if there's 3 or 4 of these that come up on the same weekend and they're taking offers on the same evening, it might dilute things just enough to see maybe 10 offers on each one, as opposed to 30 or 40 offers on each one. So it might just open up enough in the spring market as we see more listings hit the market for some buyers to see success. And even though I'm saying that some things seem diluted in our market, do not get this confused. I've still seen many situations recently where the houses have sold 200 or 250 or even more over the asking price, and these ones were obviously listed very aggressively on the low end of what I would consider way below market value. But still, we are still seeing a ton of demand out there, and we really need more listings to offset that. So since my last update, there have been a few announcements that may also change what we're seeing in the market, but it's a little bit too early to tell. So one thing we've seen is we've seen the Bank of Canada increase the overnight rate. So this is probably going to keep happening throughout this year, and the rise in interest rates may cool the market slightly, but I would say that we haven't really seen it here yet on the ground level. And last week, the Nova Scotia government announced a couple tax announcements for non-resident taxing, which may also help cool the market. But again, it's really too early to tell, and there are so many details of those announcements that we just don't know how they're going to pan out yet, and it's really hard to say where it's going to go in terms of affecting our market. In general, I expect this market to stay this way way for quite some time. So really good for sellers and really tough for buyers. We might see some little micro shifts throughout the year as more inventory floods the market in the spring, but at the end of the day, I don't foresee any drastic changes, and this market is likely here to stay for quite some time, as there is really no end in sight for this type of a market here in Halifax. If you stuck with us this long, I would love to hear what you think in the comments below, and don't forget to click the like button and subscribe to our channel as I post 2 videos a week. And until we see you next month, have a great day, and thank you so much for watching.